Are you guys looking to trade for Myles Garrett or?
You know what? I'm not sure. I should probably ask Brad Holmes.
You should. I feel like he could have helped you guys in the playoffs, maybe.
I mean, yeah. I think so. Yeah, of course he could have. I think a lot of guys could have helped us in the playoffs.
What does that mean? You throwing shade?
Like, we were just down. We were down numbers.
Oh, okay.
We were hurt. A lot of injuries. But yeah, I should probably text Brad and see, what they're thinking about doing. Him and Aiden and Aleem and DJ and all of our D line, bro.
Who would you trade for him?
I swear, if you have a D line that's nasty, you don't need any corners. You don't need anything. Just play off and just play it off.
Who are you gonna trade? Who would you trade for? Who would you trade for? Like, who would you give?
I mean, I don't know. How does it usually work? They usually trade draft picks, right?
A draft pick and a player, or like an Aiden for Myles.
No, fuck no.
No.
Bro, Aiden's not going anywhere.
Okay.
He's about to get locked up in 3 months. He's locked line for life.
Maybe like a. And you also got to take into account like how much he's getting paid right now because you're gonna take over his contract. So
how much is he getting paid? Can we get a number on that, Mike? How much is Myles Garrett? What's his salary cap?
So he's gonna dent your salary cap. So you maybe not as high of a draft pick. Who knows?
Myles Garrett, Aiden. Oh my God! Like even like during the year we were thinking like Max Crosby and Aiden would be nuts.
Oh, Max would be nuts too. Yeah.
But I think he's going to be probably Raider for life too. But so since he requested a trade, right? Doesn't mean he's leaving, right?
I mean, it's up to I think GM if he wants to trade him. But yeah, but some organizations honor the players if they want to get traded. Some don't. Like I think Cooper Kupp just posted that the Rams told him they're going to trade him. Like sometimes teams don't even tell you; they just trade you. At least they told him, and they're working with him, apparently, based off his post, that, they're trying to work with him on where they're going to trade him. So he has a little bit of say. But, I remember, I think, was the Giants traded Odell to the Browns?
I don't think he wanted to.
Yeah, he didn't want to go there. That was not his choice, But,
So I guess the Browns don't want to trade Myles Garrett, but Myles Garrett wants to be traded. Browns GM Andrew Berry repeatedly has maintained that he is not interested in trading Myles Garrett. Now Garrett has requested a trade. There is still lots of work to be done here by both sides before the situation is resolved. So
exactly. So
they don't want to trade him, but I feel like if you give him the right, you offer the right stuff, they'll trade him.
Yeah, but what's the right stuff? He's arguably the best D lineman in the league right now.
The right stuff is always high draft picks. It's always the answer.
And that's it. It's the high draft picks. That's what they're going to have to do. I had to get in here and talk about this. I'm sorry I didn't get in here yesterday to be able to do that. I had life at me. But I do have to address this. I have to address the elephant in the room. The Myles Garrett talks. We'll talk a little bit of free agency today on this episode of the Lion Villain Report.
Hey, yo, the lies so that you never make it. Hopeless, so it seems. Eyes closed, hands open wide to embrace your dreams. Sometimes you gotta take a loss just to get the win. Like lots of sin was popping in like oxygen when boxes wet. Focus on the mental, never lose like a smooth instrumental. Better choose on the move in a pinto. Choose what I get to, never lose smooth on the move, but it's simple. Never give up and we running it, maybe. We just keep winning, we conquering daily. Envision that pay me, it's never this way. We indigenous, maybe we winning this crazy. Your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity. It's your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity. It's your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity. It's your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity, your opportunity.
Oh, yeah. Welcome one, welcome all. Ladies and gentlemen, to the Lion Villain Report. And I am your host, Russell Wayne, and I will be here for the next hour or so talking a little bit of this Myles Garrett, talking a little bit of this Lions football in here today. We're broadcasting live into the Lion Villain Squad Facebook page, the Lion Villain Squad YouTube page. We are on the Detroit Lions News Podcast Facebook page with Joe Chap and the boys. Thank you. We are on Roku at the Huddle Sports Network. Yeah, that's right. That's right. We are the undrafted free agent of sports podcasting. Liking, sharing, commenting is how you can help out the page. The UDFA. We are the Tom Kennedy, baby. We don't mind working hard up in here. We'll keep working hard. We're in the off season now. And we appreciate anybody that is following the page right there. We do put out content 365 days a year out there. And it's faith, family, and then football in that order. God bless you guys. If you can hear the words that are coming out of my mouth, God bless you. I don't care what team that you follow, because it's faith, family, and then football in that order. We use football to create memories and spend time with our family. We don't let football use us. So with that, I will say hello to everybody.
Say hello to my little friend.
All my little friends are in the house right here. Good morning. Good morning, Central Scrutinizer. We're talking about that Garrett would be okay with that fan. Jay Smooth up in the house. Jay Smooth, what's up, my guy?
You like that?
Gun guy in the house, Broski.
You like
Broski's
that?
in the house. Yeah, you guys should want Garrett too. Adam, I'm talking about the Broski's a Bear fan. If you know, he's our favorite Bear fan, and he's the Broski with the Moski. He probably wants Myles Garrett too. The Packer fans, Jay Smooth up in the house.
You like that?
He wants Myles Garrett. You should. You should want Scott Harrison up in the house.
You like that?
Gun guy says, where's Smoking Jeremy B been?
You like that?
I don't know. He's doing Smoking Jeremy B stuff. Katie is the best meteorologist. I love your show and Ice Sport Slide. You make weather science so fun. All right. Well, shout out to Katie. Faith, family, then football. Good morning. Good morning, Adam. Good morning. Good morning to Thad Van Tiflin. Let's bring in Myles Garrett.
You like that?
Yeah. And that's the thing right here. You make a good point right here, Jay Smooth. You don't see the pack going after him because it just doesn't make sense. There's only a couple teams that it really makes sense for. And fortunately, the Lions have built a team, with your boy, Brad Holmes, that this is possible, man. This is a no-brainer. I don't even get it. Hey, if you are on the fence with this, get off the fence, because I won't accept it any other way. Right here. I don't care if you got to give 1 first-round pick, 2 first-round picks, 3 first-round picks. The only thing that I don't want the Lions to do is give up players, because we've drafted well. I don't want to see players in the trade. Give the draft picks up. F them picks at this point. We are already, we have went over this time and time again on here, and I'm going to do it again just for you, just for this Myles Garrett special, that you should want Myles Garrett. I mean, stop it. You're talking about, this isn't trade deadline. Oh, it's a pipe dream. I can't believe you Lions fans, you do it every single time. It's a pipe dream. Gotta always talk every free agent. This is different. Myles Garrett is going to a new team this offseason. Now, let's talk about if the Browns want to be like, oh, you're under contract, it's really going to screw us over. You're screwed anyway. You were screwed the day you signed Deshaun Watson to a fully guaranteed $250 million deal. Your ship was sunk. You had a giant, you were done. You were done. You are screwed by any stretch that you have right now. There's nothing that you can do. You can trade Myles Garrett, sit on Myles Garrett, whatever. You will not win a championship with Myles Garrett on your team if you're the Cleveland Browns. You rip the Band-Aid off, get as much as you can get out of them. I don't want to hear that, oh, well, they could just not trade him. Okay. Then the defensive player of the year is going to sit out the entire year. He ain't going to play for you. Myles Garrett has all of the power. He is getting traded this offseason. It's not a matter of if, it is when. So let's just pull that right off the table right now. This is not a pipe dream, because not only is it possible, it is going to happen. He is going to be traded. So now that we have that out of the way, now Lions fit. The Lions fit. Now, could there be any more of a bigger need that the Lions have this offseason than defensive end? Opposite of Hutchinson. You may be able to make an argument of defensive tackle, but at least you have DJ Reader to start the season with, and you're not completely void of talent. You're also developing players. You could also bring in a player right there. But Myles Garrett, 1 first-round pick, 2 first-round picks, 3 first-round picks. I don't care what it takes to get in here. Lions picking at what, 28? No freaking way you would get anybody of the quality, even half, 1/4, 1/10 of what Myles Garrett is. Myles Garrett is a better defensive end than Aiden Hutchinson. And you can't say that about 5 people. This is unheard of. I don't care what it takes to get him here. Because right now, that contract is affordable. Lions have $46 million in cap space right now, and then when the new league year starts, they're going to get to roll over some of that money. They're going to have upwards of $67 million to work with. This is not a money thing, guys. What happens when you draft well? When you are Brad Holmes, is eventually you get to a tipping point. And the Lions are at this tipping point. Why don't the Lions over the, yeah, it's bargain bin basement Brad. It is when you're building the foundation of your roster. But when you get to the tipping point, and you saw a little bit of this last year when you're drafting projects like Manu and Broderick Martin, they knew that these guys were physical specimens that needed at least a year or 2 of development. And you do that when you can't fit guys as starters on your team. See, the difficult part of adding defensive end talent right now, right, is you got a bona fide stud in Aiden Hutchinson, right? You got one bona fide stud in Aiden Hutchinson, and then you have a guys that, you know, whether you want to admit it or not, broski, but you got a couple of guys. Maybe they're just Jags, but they're not just Jags. They're better than guys off the street. Josh Pascal is better than a guy off the street. You know, you got defensive play. Broderick Martin is going to be better than a guy off the street, if only for the simple fact that he's been in your system and he's been developing. So when you're adding talent, you want that talent to be so much over the edge that you're popping this guy in the top peg. Here's Myles Garrett. You have a defensive end problem, right? Well, all of a sudden you pop Myles Garrett and he's your best defender. Aiden Hutchinson goes on the other side. And then all of a sudden, Josh Pascal, his whole role looks a lot different at that point. And Zadarius Smith, their roles look a little bit different, because now you got a 1, 2, 3, 4. You got your first line of depth with quality starter too. Now, you may not call Pascal a quality starter, but when he's backing up Aiden Hutchinson and Myles Garrett, then all of a sudden, Myles Garrett fixes the depth problem and the defensive end problem. Done. You still draft a defensive end. You get one developed somewhere. You know, you're not going to have a first-round pick. You won't take him with your first-round pick. But this is a no-brainer, guys. I mean, what are we doing here? What do you want the Lions to do with $67 million? Because for one, if you extend Aiden Hutchinson and a couple of your players, let's say you get Kirby Joseph in there, and then you extend one of your other guys that you have here. Let's say you bring back Derek Barnes. I mean, that first year of the contract, that ain't going to do nothing this year. 2027 is when that contract hits. If it's Aiden Hutchinson, they redo his deal, his contract will be structured the same way that Amon-Ra was and Sewell's was, where he's going to finish out his deal. He'll get some bonuses year one, but that contract and cap won't hit until 2027. So those extensions have nothing to do with Myles Garrett. So stop it. Stop saying they can't extend other players. All that does is it solidifies the fact that they're going to extend those other players, and then you use your window. You got Myles Garrett for 2 years under this contract. And don't give me the crap that he's going to need an extension right away. He isn't. If he needed an extension, he would stay in Cleveland. And Cleveland would back up the Brinks truck, and they would just pay him. Give him the most money ever. Whatever. He's Myles freaking Garrett. Best defensive player in the NFL. Maybe the best player in the NFL. And he's available. And there's Lion fan out there that goes, oh, it's too expensive. 3 first-round picks, 2 first-round picks. It's just shut up. Be quiet. Be quiet and let the big boys go up to the table. Somebody's going to step up and get the best defensive player in the NFL. And unfortunately, I think it's going to be the Commanders. The Commanders are actually in a better situation than the Lions are to take on Myles Garrett and to keep him on the team for a long period of time. I mean, you do run into a crossroads in 2027 if you take on Myles Garrett, to where you're going to have a little conundrum. You're probably not going to be able to keep both of those contracts. So if you bring in if you bring in Myles Garrett, you have a bona fide, wide open 2-year window that you will be the Super Bowl favorite. And I mean, this is franchise altering if Brad Holmes gets this done. And that's why I don't think that the same rules apply. That's usually here with Brad Holmes being bargain bin. Bargain bin Brad has got us this far, but now we are in a good spot to be able to handle something like this. So let's really take a look at this so we can put our eyeballs on it. With the $46 million in cap right now, that is until the league year's done. Right? And then when the league year is done, that old money that they had on the cap, it moves up. It moves to they'll get some more money right there than that $46 million. That's why it's reported on here that's why Spot Track has them at $67.9 million, because they've already factored in that thing that over the cap is not. Okay? So, but when you look at these numbers that they have right here, so you got 2025, you got these numbers that aren't crazy cap numbers yet. Amon-Ra's only $13 million. Now that changes next year. Amon-Ra's cap number in 2026 becomes $33 million, and that's why their cap is much lower next year, because you got Jared Goff with a $69 million cap hit. But that is easily fixable when you're talking about keeping guys around, because these base salaries, you can restructure contracts up to this amount of money. Right here, you can lower all of these numbers. Ragnow's down. Amon-Ra's, you can lower his down by $27 million, right? You can make his cap hit about $5 million if you extended him again, re-upped his extension, added another year on it, restructured it. So next year is what I like to consider the piggyback or the piggy bank year, where we can go into our existing contracts like Penei Sewell, Graham Glasgow, all these guys with these high numbers. Aleem McNeil, $23 million right there. You can lower these giant cap numbers to fit other guys in. This is what you call a fluid salary cap. Oh, shoot, you're not even... I'm sorry, guys. Okay, let's do this again. So, these big cap numbers, like the $69 million, this is the cap number for 2026. Here's 2025. This is kind of like our free year right here. This is why it makes sense to bring in Myles Garrett, because the money is in here. These guys are already under contract. Look at all these rookie contracts that you still got right here. Obviously these are your veteran contracts right there, but you still got Hutchinson, not Sewell. Sewell just signed his, but then, Amik still under contract. Jameson's on a rookie deal. Jameer's still on a rookie deal. Campbell is on a rookie deal. Kirby Joseph, and he'll sign his this year. Terrion. Sam Laporta's still on his rookie deal. Brian Branch. You're looking at these, and this is why the window is here. Because you have all of these guys that are still on their rookie deal. That's why it makes sense this year. Look at the roster size already. They got 54 guys on this roster. There's only 53 guys that are going to make the team, and we haven't drafted yet. We haven't brought in a free agent. We haven't even re-signed the old players like we could keep Carlton Davis. A lot of these players are core players that aren't going anywhere. You ain't cracking this starting lineup as a rookie anyway. So why not use the draft picks, the top end ones, because you've already drafted well. This is why the window is here. This is why you don't say F them picks all the time. You don't say F those picks all the time, right? You got to build. You can't give away draft capital when you got giant holes everywhere, right? And that's the case that the Lions have had every year up until now. Last year, they couldn't say F them picks because they had such big holes in the secondary. They had to make their moves. They didn't have anything in the cupboard. They didn't have anything as frontline starters, so they get Carlton Davis, Amik Robertson, and draft 2 cornerbacks. Boom, 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 boom. Well, now you got 2 cornerbacks marinating on rookie contracts sitting in the cupboard. You could bring back Carlton Davis, and then all of a sudden that room looks different in the cornerback room. And then now you can do this. You have all of those bases covered. And I'm not saying don't draft cornerbacks. You need a cornerback, right? You got to continue to build for the future. But for right now, your core is set. And that's why it makes so much sense to definitely be in the front of the line. And I'm sure that Brad is going to be on the phone with this. We can do it. We can afford to do it. So Garrett requested a trade after 8 seasons with the Browns. He decided that he has a desire. He wants to compete in a Super Bowl. He said the goal isn't to go from Cleveland to Canton. This doesn't happen very much. This is Herschel Walker. Players like this is Matt Stafford. Players like this don't come available. And when they do, because there's nothing wrong with Garrett. He's a great character guy. He handled this like for people, I don't want to trade for disgruntled players. Knock it off. He doesn't want to win. That's got to be frustrating. It's the same thing that happened with Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders wanted to win somewhere. We weren't providing that environment. Now the Lions have an environment that could win a Super Bowl. Could. Not guaranteed, but could win a Super Bowl. You got to do it. Reggie White. This is Reggie White. Yes, I'm putting Myles Garrett in the bag with Reggie White. He's that good. There's only a couple of spots that can be like this. Aiden Hutchinson is a top 3 pass rusher in the NFL. And you're looking at one of 2 guys that I think that are actually better than Hutchinson right now. Or on and not even levels above. I don't think that, I think Aiden Hutchinson, you would have 2 almost generational guys on your team. This would be, I'm not even capping right here. This would be the greatest defensive end duo in NFL history. You don't get 2 top 5 guys on your team. Even if I don't want to go off and say Hutchinson's top 3, okay, he's top 5. You don't get 2 top 5 pass rushers on your team at the same time in any window. It doesn't happen. And you want to tell me, hey, I don't want to trade the future 3 first-round picks? You could have 20 drafts and not find a Myles Garrett. You ain't getting him at 28. You ain't getting nobody that can do anything near Myles Garrett at the end of the first round. Well, what about TJ Watt? Well, he ain't Myles Garrett. Keep trying. Myles Garrett is different. Look at those arms. Look at those arms. Guy ran a 4.5 40 at 270 pounds. That's freak. Freak. Oh, how are the Lions going to stop him? How are they going to stop running quarterbacks? Well, there's not too many quarterbacks that are faster than Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett will run down Jaden Daniels. Now, Jaden Daniels has better top-end speed than Myles Garrett, but Myles Garrett has one of the best accelerations moves that you're ever going to see. He's different than Aiden Hutchinson, and that's the beautiful thing about it. The difference between bringing Myles Garrett in here than a guy like Max Crosby, right? I know that there's a lot of Max Crosby guys that are out there. Myles Garrett is different. Max Crosby's kind of like having a Hutchinson. You'd have a Hutchinson on both sides, which could be great. You know, I think Hutchinson has better moves than Crosby, but Crosby's he's got a down dog, a down there dog nasty attitude. He's kind of like the dark side of Hutchinson. But Garrett's different. Garrett's got freakish power. Most of his moves are going to come from power. And then unrelenting closing speed. And then here's the other thing. You got a brand new defensive coordinator. This is a shepherd's dream. A shepherd's dream is to add Myles Garrett to this defensive room. A rookie defensive coordinator getting his shot. I'm sure that it's a lot easier to design your defense when you got 2 game wreckers up front. And another thing, here's another thing too, is your depth is different when you have these 2 guys. You don't have to keep 5 extra defensive ends because you're rolling the dice. When you got stud players, you're not expecting those stud players to go down. You're betting on that, right? So you're not going to have Hutchinson on one side playing 95% of the snaps and then a rotation with Myles Garrett on the other side. No, you're going to have Hutchinson on one side playing 95% of the snaps. Then you're going to have Garrett on the other side playing 95% of the snaps. Your depth becomes 1 or 2 defensive guys that are going to come in and just take, breather snaps. Less than 10 snaps a game for your rotation because these 2 guys just stay out there. That's what you got here. That's another thing that Myles Garrett adds. He adds extra roster spots because you don't need to carry as many defensive ends on the active roster. Now, I would probably keep 4 or 5 of them on the practice squad to make sure, just in case an injury happens, then you got a nice, healthy rotation, but you won't need it. So let's see what we got in here, man. I've been running my mouth. I know that there's lots of... Good morning, Lions Nation. If Holmes can wheel a deal, yeah. Yeah, broski, this is why. It's dumb for the Bears to go after Myles Garrett right now because they are more than one piece away. And this is good that you're trying to help your guys understand this. There's only a couple teams that this is a perfect storm for. I mean, Garrett would make that defense a lot better. I mean, I'm not saying you couldn't win a Super Bowl over there. Wherever Garrett goes, you're going to be, up levels. Right there. Central says that I don't think we'll go after Garrett. Hendrickson is more likely. Hendrickson's nowhere near Garrett. I mean, Hendrickson doesn't even move the needle for me if you're going to spend that much money on people. Garrett's cheaper than Hendrickson because he signed his deal later. I mean, if we acquire him in a trade. So if we're going to find out if they can wheel and deal, definitely go after Garrett and Max Crosby. What can I say? Gig, villains. I'm going through here. Central Scrutinizer. Faith, family, and football, baby. Crosby's injury prone, getting older at every snap. Jay Smooth says, I hope the Pack goes after him, but I don't see that happening. Oh my God, Detroit is desperate. Who's your OC? Who's your receivers coach? Jimmy Hoffa needs like Google or something like that. I mean, have you even been paying attention, man? I don't think we've hired a receivers coach yet, but you got to stay up on it, man. We did a show last week. Johnny Morton. John Morton is our offensive coordinator. And David Shaw is our passing game coordinator. We're good. We're good. The Lions will still have a top 5 defense in the NFL, regardless. Central Scrutinizer agrees with me. He says, definitely, Russell, we're deep enough to give up draft picks this year. Doesn't happen very often. It's like you build cachet over a couple of years. You got to hit on a couple of years, and it really helps that they hit on 4 All-Pros in 2023. So, yeah, that allows you some flexibility. Susan says, yeah, it would be awesome, but is it really, or is it feasible, or is it fantasy land? Susan, this is the realest rumor that you can have. This isn't like the offseason last year, trade deadline last year, where everybody's just throwing up Garrett. Like, there was no chance last year, and I thought it was a little bit dumb during the trade deadline. I didn't do much on it because I just didn't think it was going to be all of that. This is different, Susan. Myles Garrett has came out and requested this trade. It's a lot like what happened when Matt Stafford requested the trade. They're going to honor this. They're not going to keep him disgruntled. It wasn't like he came out and threw shade at the organization or anything like that. He did it in a respectful way. So it's not fantasy land. One of the 31 other teams in the NFL is going to land Myles Garrett this year. And since he said only Super Bowl contenders, there's only a list of maybe 5-6 teams that have a real shot or can even make this happen. And the Lions are one of them. So it is very feasible. It might be a little bit fantasy land, but we'll see. Villain, of course, if we do get Garrett somehow, you know that the master, Brad Holmes, will restructure the deal and make it more cap-friendly for this year, etc. They don't really have to do anything to it. That's part of the intrigue for this contract, guys. I mean, let's really take a look at this. Let me bring this up. Give me a second here. Let me find the Browns here, and then you can really look at this. Let's see. Get in there. Pow. Okay. So here's the Browns salary cap right here, and just throw Myles Garrett on there. His base salary for this year is $1 million. His cap hit is $19 million. So you can't really restructure his contract to do anything. You kind of got to eat. You're eating that $19 million. You have to. But his caliber of play, I think Bosa, the most expensive DN, is getting 35 right now. So this is a very affordable contract. And then in 2026, you don't have any room to move any of the money, and the contract is still $20 million. Now, Myles Garrett has some crazy cap numbers that they're just going to have to deal with over the next couple years, regardless. That goes all the way to 2027. They would essentially be ripping the Band-Aid off this year. They would trade him, and they're already $30 million over the cap. That would make them $48 million or $46 million over the cap when they trade him. But the thing is it doesn't matter. They gotta do some things. Now, they gotta get this Deshaun Watson. Now, this is where they're gonna have to restructure Deshaun Watson and then eat it. Because right now, they're not saving any money right there. They're just so screwed with the Deshaun Watson contract that them being screwed with the Myles Garrett contract, it's like you just got to rip the Band-Aid off. Now, in a lighter way, the Lions did that in 2021 with Brad Holmes, because they had Jamie Collins, Trey Flowers. They had a bunch of really bad contracts. Jamie Collins, I know for a fact that they lost when they cut him, it created cap space, or not cap space, but it created more debt when they cut him. But it's like ripping the Band-Aid off. But it also made all of the debt happen right away while you had all these undrafted free agents. They were like $80 million behind the cap in 2021 in the first year. They ripped the Band-Aid off. They got rid of any player. And that's where that line came from. We don't keep turds on the team. So the Browns got to do this. If the Browns want to start competing in 2028, they have to do this deal now. Because if they don't do the Myles Garrett deal, they'll still have Myles Garrett, maybe. And they're also giving up 2028 too. So them doing this deal will give them a shot at, picking for the next couple of years, refixing it. But it's going to take 3 years to get out of that Deshaun Watson deal. They ain't competing. That's why he wants out. They screwed themselves so bad with that Deshaun Watson deal. I mean, Myles Garrett isn't a dummy. Hey, I'm not going to, this is my window. This 3-year window is what I have left in my tank to really compete for a Super Bowl. And I'm not going to rebuild over the next 3 years while you're doing that. And then you're going to be ready when I'm leaving my prime? That's just not fair to a guy the caliber of Myles Garrett. What's up, Elise? You like that? It's good to see you on here. Elise, the queen of memes in the house. The D-line is the priority. The D-line. Now, I said I would take 3 first-round picks and I would go get them. I wouldn't even think about it. I wouldn't. And I don't think it's going to cost that much. I think 2 is going to be the entrance price, and then whoever's got the nicest thing after that. And in this case, I would say Hendon Hooker could get thrown in there. You could put Hendon Hooker in on that trade, and because they're going to need players back, right? Hendon Hooker should be intriguing to them because they have the 2nd overall pick. I mean, I don't know how many people believe in Shedeur Sanders. He might be the guy, but he might be taking number 1 overall. And then what do you got, man? A lot of question marks at quarterback this year in the draft. And if you're picking number 2, Hendon Hooker might be pretty tasty this offseason since there's not the super quarterbacks as of this point. Like defensive players are up there in the top this draft. So D-line is the priority. And boy, would Myles Garrett put a giant nail into that. Jimmy in here trying to find an angle. Well, Jimmy's in here trying to find an angle. He's not even worried about his crap team. Jordan Love and the Green Bay Packers have slipped into averageness. And it's like we try to tell them. And in the offseason, Lions are on the way up. The Packers are on the way down. I mean, the Packers, they got passed up by the Bears this offseason. And I know that's something that they usually say every offseason. The Bears are like, oh, yeah, we won the offseason again. We're so good. No, but I think the Bears actually passed the Packers this year. Good young roster. Keep building that thing up. You got Ben Johnson. You got a crew of guys that are at least going to get you guys disciplined. So, let's see. The high risk of a pick, would they really trade him? That's kind of why I don't see the Pack being able to get a deal done over other teams. Yeah, I don't think he ain't going to the Packers, but I'm just saying that when these trade rumors usually come up, I'm usually the guy that gets up here and just says, no, wait a minute, stop it. You know, it's not realistic that we're going to get Max Crosby. It's not realistic that we're going to get Myles Garrett as of the last trade deadline. It wasn't happening during the middle of the season. They weren't doing that. But now that you got the guy out in public telling you that he wants to be traded, it's the writing's on the wall now. And at this point, You just get him on the team and worry about it later. Myles Garrett's too damn good. That's not money. There are certain players that it's almost like having two players, right? When Hutchinson's out there, he makes the whole defense different. Garrett's one of those players. The $30 million, you make that shit work. And you got a fluid salary cap right now, so you can absorb this contract, and why wouldn't you? Thad says, not to mention Za'Darius is friends with I'm sure that Za'Darius wouldn't be too broken up, but Za'Darius might be a cap casualty if they bring him in. Sorry to say that, but if they bring in, I don't know. They may decide to move on from a couple players. If they bring in Garrett, guys like Derek Barnes and you might you might lose one of your long-term pieces that you were thinking about that were just kind of mid guys. Like, I think Derek Barnes is a good example of that. Some of these guys. You might not be able to re-sign Carlton Davis. You might not be able to re-sign Kevin Zeitler or Ifeatu Melifonwu. I think that's where the impact would come of guys that you wouldn't be able to re-sign. As far as Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch, you'll get those done. You'll get those done, and the big part of that cap hit won't hit until after Garrett's gone. So, like the Hutchinson and Kirby Joseph, I don't think that this Garrett's, if they go get him, will affect that at all. And pull out that shepherd's dream. That's what I think. Not to mention Za'Darius Smith comes in there. They wouldn't even have to get rid of Za'Darius Smith. You can make that work. Tyler seems to think that this year's first round and a next year, future first round, and Hendon Hooker gets the deal done for Myles. If that's the case, do it. Do it. Do it. If that's all it takes. Miss the part, like I heard a really good, I can't remember what show I saw it on. I think it was the Crunch Time guys had a guy on that was talking about how it shouldn't feel like 2 first-round picks. If you're like, oh, it's 2 first-round picks. Okay, let's really break this down. Is it really 2 first-round picks? Because would you get Myles Garrett at 28 this year? Like, let's just throw that out there. No, you're not going to get Myles Garrett at 28. So you're giving that pick up, but you wouldn't have gotten a Myles Garrett. So you've already destroyed that pick. And then, so really, you're only giving up 1 first-round pick. That is like of extra. And probably with Myles Garrett, it's going to be a late first-round pick again. So let's not get too caught up. And even if it took 3 first-round picks, let's not get too caught up on what that is. Because you're not going to find Myles Garrett in this draft. You're not going to find Myles Garrett in the next draft or the draft after that. You just aren't. They call them generational talents for a reason. It is what it is. Tyler says that elite pass rush can cover up average corner play. And even to add to that, Tyler, elite pass rush can make it so you can only rush 4. Part of the reason Lions secondary got exposed is because you've got to send 5 guys to get pressure, 5, 6 guys. And when you send 5, 6 guys to get to the quarterback, if they don't get to the quarterback, you got holes on the field. And good quarterbacks know how to find them holes and make it work. So elite pass rush makes it so you can use all of your secondary to cover. Lions are going to get Garrett. Just write it down. Congrats on getting Garrett, Lions. I know how this league works. Look at Steve getting in there. You like that? You like that? Russ, our pieces are in place. We're only going to get better. We're only getting better. I like it. The bad guy says, why do we need to give draft picks away for Myles Garrett? We won many games without them. Go get Mac in free agency. Look at what we did during the season without Myles Garrett. Yeah, we couldn't get to the passer. We didn't have a pass rush. We got carved up by Jaden Daniels in the playoff by a good team, John the bad guy. What do you mean? What did we do in the season? We got torched in the secondary because we couldn't rush the passer. That's why we need Myles Garrett. That's why we need a pass rusher. Opposite of Aiden. See, I don't understand that. I mean, why do we need to give draft picks away for Myles Garrett? Because he's the best defensive player in the NFL. And the best defensive player in the NFL doesn't become available. It doesn't happen. You like that? You do it because Myles Garrett and Aiden Hutchinson would be the greatest defensive end duo of all time. You know why? Because the best defensive ends don't land on the same team ever. You might have two top 20 guys, but these guys are both game changers. That you got, that's a problem. You ain't gonna find nothing with those draft picks anywhere close. Trey Hendrickson ain't even close to Myles Garrett. Hey, here's something that you don't want to hear. Aiden Hutchinson isn't close to Myles Garrett. Aiden Hutchinson is hoping to peak and get somewhere near that. Aiden Hutchinson is on the way up right there, but Myles Garrett is already there. He's been the best defensive player in the NFL for 5 years. Maybe even longer than that. Every year he could win Defensive Player of the Year. Why would we want that? Why would we want that? Hey, you're coming after me, bad guy? You coming after me, bad guy? This is the realest rumor? It is the realest rumor. What is more real than the player coming out and saying, I am requesting a trade. I don't want to play for losers anymore. They are going to trade him. He is going to a different team, bad guy. What do you want him to go to the Bears? You want to sit on your picks and develop players so he can go to the Bears? You want him to go to the Vikings? You want him to go to the Commanders so we can face the Commanders in the playoffs with Myles Garrett? This should be an arms race, guys. Because if this is a real rumor, which it is because Myles Garrett got onto the Super Bowl show and talked about how he wants to be traded. The NFL doesn't throw rumors out there like this if it isn't going to happen. They got to get it done. Here's another thing. Can the Lions not afford to get Garrett? It would appear the fruit is ripe and it should be harvested. The proverbial door is wide open. Now, here's one side where I can understand where the bad guy is coming from here. Because usually when you want to throw all your eggs into a basket, it's like that risk and reward type of thing. You can't risk the future of your franchise. But what you're saying here is true. The fruit is ripe. You don't, it's like, here's a perfect storm right here. This doesn't happen all of the time where a player comes available like this. And you actually have the draft capital and the means to not wreck your future while acquiring this player. Because if Myles Garrett wasn't available, yeah, you're damn right we would be in the free agency pool, looking at the top free agent guy, whatever that is, and what you doing? You know, the Lions need to pick up, this guy that's in there. And like all of the DNs that are going to come out in free agency this year, not named Myles Garrett, are going to want more money than $19 million a year. So with that being said, you'd want the Lions to spend the money on free agent pass rushers because we need pass rusher. So if Myles Garrett was available for $20 million, I mean, would that help you out? Bad guy? If Myles Garrett was available for $20 million, every team in the NFL would be beating down his door. Yeah, maybe we're just on our Madden teams right now. Man, go ahead and make fun of us. I know that you're not really making fun of us, but make fun of us for dreaming this dream. Like I said, there's about 5 or 6 teams that realistically have a shot at this dream. As long as Garrett isn't full of crap. He said he wants to play for a Super Bowl contender. And you also have to have enough cap room to do things. What if Garrett went to the Chiefs to win 4 straight Super Bowls? That would suck, man. That would suck. That would suck. That would suck. That would suck. As if we don't hate the villains of the NFL, the Kansas City Chiefs, enough. I think everybody's like ready. I think everyone is forgetting. Okay. Educate us, bad guy. I think everyone is forgetting that even you yourself, this isn't about what is Myles Garrett want. What do the Cleveland Browns get back? They're going to want to get back the best value. Myles Garrett isn't in control, and he can say what he wants to go to a contender, but the Browns are the ones that are in control, and he wants the best picks available. I'm not understanding. Are you pointing that out, Captain Obvious? Yeah, Myles Garrett is in control of this situation. Do you know why, John the bad guy? Because he came out and he did it in the right way. And if Cleveland wants to continue to do dumb things, then they'll sit on this and they'll say, oh, no, you're just going to stay here because you're under contract. And they can do that, and Myles Garrett can sit out. And he can sit out. He can get his body right. And he doesn't have to play for the Browns ever again. He could retire. And this doesn't work with all players, bad guy. But Myles Garrett is one of the players that this is going to work with. When Matt Stafford requested out of Detroit, we have to do it. You have to do it. When it's a player of this caliber right here, you have to do it. Myles Garrett is in full control. He's made his statement, and he ain't playing for the Browns. So they can sit on it all they want. And it may screw them out of some value. Because he can also say, no, don't trade me to that team. Oh, I don't care if they offered you 5 first-round picks. No, I'm going where I want. I'm picking my team. That's the real of it, John Bad Guy. That's not rumor. That's just is what it is. Steve says, just think that if we didn't block that field goal, we would be 0-6 in the division this year. See, Steve's a smart guy. He realizes that the Packers are in trouble. Because you used your mulligan last year, in your trash talk. And I'm just giving you a hard time, Steve, but you used your mulligan last year. Oh, we got 3 number 1 wide receivers. What are you going to do? Jordan Love is all this, blah, blah, blah. But the fact of the matter is you proved that you were really, really good, but the division's good and that you're not as good as the good teams. Now, the Lions, I know that you make fun of us for having an excuse, but we do have the excuse. We had to go into the playoffs minus our 2 best defensive players. And then on the second play of the game, we lost the backup cornerback in Amik Robertson, who had just shut down Justin Jefferson 2 weeks before on the third play of the game. So that's not an excuse. You want to call it an excuse? If it's the reason, is it still an excuse? So I don't want to use it as an excuse, but it is the reason. Because I am in full belief that if the Lions had Aleem McNeil and Aiden Hutchinson in that game, that they would have beat the Commanders. It is what it is. He's a fanboy. He's in a Lions chat. You don't see us in Green Bay chats. Okay. Southwest Chill Dude. Russell loves all kinds of fans in here. This is a good show. I'm a Packers fan, and I've been in this show for a few years now, so it's all good. Oh. I don't know. Am I getting beat up in the chat here? I'm trying to go through here. Still got the toughest division. It would be stupid. Say, Broski, you're not on the Garrett train, but man, if you guys could pull it off, you definitely want to do it, I would think. So here's the thing: is you're giving away a first-round pick, someone who's going to be a 4 or 5 years. Garrett isn't going to be here that long, and maybe 3 year. Maybe 3 if you get an extension if you want. Well, they would, if they brought him here, they would probably at least restructure and keep it. But the thing is you don't get a chance to get a guy like this, man. Oh, you're giving who's going to be around here for 4 or 5 years? Who gives a crap? To get some guy that's 1/4 of what Myles Garrett can be? For 4 or 5 years, to me, whatever. You may be able to find a great guy like that, but Myles Garrett is a generational talent. You are not going to be able to find him in 10 drafts. You can pick number 1 overall in every draft. You ain't going to find guys like Myles Garrett. He's the best right now. He's better than Hutchinson. He's better than Bosa. He's better than Crosby. He's better than TJ Watt. He's the best defensive player in the league. So that is the answer. That is the answer. You're not giving away anything. You're accepting value. The only reason that you can do this, John the Bad Guy, is because you've drafted well. You get cachet. You not everybody can, but eventually, if you draft well enough, you can earn, not everybody can, but you can earn the cachet and the flexibility in your cap to pull a move off like this. The Lions can afford to do it. We got 67 million .5. As soon as the new league year starts and we roll over that 26 mil, they got the money to do this. If you have the money to do this, what are you sitting on the money to do it for? We got 54 guys locked under contract. So even if we do draft these guys, where are they going to play? You still got your second round pick. You still got all of your other draft picks. Brad has found that you found out that Brad can hit in the second and third round. So what are you even talking about here? Man, you guys are in here. I love it. I love it. So we're on here. We're talking about Myles Garrett. You know, the rumors that are out there, they seem more like rumors. This episode is brought to you by NFL Shop. You can scan the link. Go to the link. Save yourself up 25% off of your Lions swag order, or even if you're a Bear fan, you can get in there and get some Bear stuff. Packer fans, whatever. Whoever's watching the show, go get your swag from our affiliate marketing partners over at NFL Shop. Boom. Super Bowl contender chats are the best. Yes, we are Super Bowl contenders. As long as Brad Holm is here, they're going to have chances to go to the Super Bowl. Steve says, Russell, you wouldn't want Crosby? Just asking. I would absolutely love Crosby, but Garrett's better. I would love Crosby. You'd still have two very high-end pass rushers, but Garrett's on a different level, man. Garrett's on a different level, and his contract's better right now. And I don't think that Garrett's going to be trying to, squeeze anything out of the deal. But the Lions are Super Bowl contenders without Crosby or without Garrett. I mean, you got a lot to look forward to when you're looking at the salary cap being fluid for the future. And that's really the basic idea that I wanted to get across here, to let you know that the villain is 100% behind getting a player the quality of Myles Garrett on a team. And honestly, if you're serious about winning a Super Bowl and you're not on the phone trying to acquire this player, this is an arms race, man, especially for the top. I mean, think about all this posturing that we said, this team's good, that team's good, but what happens? You go through all of that stuff, and there's Patrick Mahomes again. Oh, there's those Philadelphia Eagles again, because they're building these fluid teams. And now I know what it's like to be like the Packer fans. Act like you've been here before. It's like, I like winning the division. I like being better than the Packers, Bears, and the Vikings. but I want a championship. It's just not enough, right? So the Lions have built a team to be the villain of the NFC North. And right now, they're all chasing the Lions. And they're going to continue to chase the Lions because our players, our all-pro players that are under the age of 25 that are signed to this team, the core for the next 4 years, are just going to keep getting better too. And they're going to keep on keeping on. But the thing is they've been an ascending team, and right now they're the kings of the NFC North. The villain of the NFC North. But got to beat the Chiefs. If you want the ultimate prize, you got to beat the good teams. You got to be able to beat the Ravens. You got to be able to beat the Bills. The good teams are on the other side. The AFC has the good teams. So, the king of the NFC North, that's like a big fish in a little pond. Trying to be the kings of the NFC couldn't get that done. So, you need the things that are going to push you over the edge to not be the best in the NFC North. You want to be the best in the NFL. And moves like this, generational moves, you don't see these often. But when you do, that's right. You got to beat the Commanders. And here's the thing. Hey, Broski throws in the rib shots, but you got to be realistic to the things that he's saying right here. So if you wanna come at me and say it's dumb to go get the defensive player of the year, oh, you got to save your draft picks. Where's your evidence that works for Detroit? Where's the evidence that they used 2 first-round picks to go get the player? And it failed. So if you want to beat the Commanders, rush the passer with Aiden Hutchinson and Myles Garrett on the bookends. And I promise you that quarterback ain't going to be playing as well. You got to disrupt him. You got to be able to get pressure with 4. And if you bring in Myles Garrett, this defense for the next 2 years is going to be able to get pressure with 4. And with the offense operating at a top 5 level, which it isn't going to stop. And the thing is if the Lions don't go get Myles Garrett, we're trying to beat the Commanders, right? You get into the playoffs, you want to beat the Commanders. How would you like to play the Commanders? With Sweat and Myles Garrett coming after Jared Goff. This is the harsh reality of you're not only, if you don't go get him, you're also letting him go to a different team that you're going to have to play. You're probably going to, if you don't get Myles Garrett, the odds are, as good of a player as he is, whatever team he lands on, you will most likely have to go through Myles Garrett. So tell me that it's wrong. Tell me that you're wasting draft picks when you got a player like Myles Garrett that can just completely change your defense. So if you don't want to pick him up, realize that you're going to have to deal with him if you don't get him. But until that happens, man, we got the Super Bowl coming this weekend. We can only dream the dream. Brad Holmes, this is an F them picks moment. And that's what he'd come in and say if he acquired it. Whenever you got an opportunity to acquire a player of this caliber, sometimes the price tag doesn't matter. Because once the contract is here, you're just missing draft picks at that point. And if he does it, he'll be working other magic. If the draft picks aren't in, he'll be working those the other magic, which is look what he did during this offseason. There's other ways of getting draft picks. The NFL is set up in a way where general managers can play this system and they can get some picks. Last year, they used a third-round pick to get a developmental player, and I still believe that Giovanni Manu is going to pay dividends for this football team. But they get that third-round pick back by developing coaches. So, if they bring in Myles Garrett, I don't know what they'll do. But, they'll figure out a way to keep acquiring talent. And Myles Garrett would fill that giant hole. You could take another developmental defensive end to sit behind him to get him ready in 2 years. It's fluid. The salary cap is fluid. And this is the shepherd's dream. Bringing in Myles Garrett for a brand new defensive coordinator. The sky's the limit with that. So I want to thank everybody for jumping on the program today and the live feed here. Appreciate you guys during the off season. This is the Lion Villain Report. You can catch the Lion Villain Report as needed during the offseason. We're the UDFA, undrafted free agent out here working. As needed, as we get information, I want to be able to do videos. And I felt like Myles Garrett was a good enough topic that we needed to come on here. Thank you for supporting the UDFA. Go over and follow the page at Lions Villain Squad. Go over there and subscribe to the YouTube channel at Lions Villain Squad. Thank you to the Detroit Lions News Podcast. Thank you to the NFL Huddle Sports Network on Roku. Christopher Walken was here to say it's a Villain Report in the off season. You should watch it when things happen. You should watch the Villain Report. It's at 10 a.m. mornings. It could be good for you. It could be good for you. It could be good for your life. No, hell yeah. It's faith, family, and then football. In that order, we use football. Spend time with our family and create memories. We don't let football use us. Thank you, everybody, for popping on here today. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you until we meet again in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank y'all for being part of this special Thursday edition of the Lion Villain Report. God bless you guys. Peace out. I'll see you soon.
Hey, yo, the lies told that you never make it. Hopeless, so it seems. Eyes closed, candles open wide to embrace your dreams. Sometimes you gotta take a loss just to get the win. Like lots of sin was popping in like oxygen when boxes wet. Focus on the mental, never lose like a smooth instrumental. Better choose on the move in a pinto. Choose when I get to, never lose smooth on the move, but it's simple. Never give up and we running it, maybe. We just keep winning, we conquering daily. Envision that pay me.